Dudes, it's Gaz, and welcome back to another Warframe video. So today we're covering ORAXIA, the new spider frame. I might not like spiders, but I do actually like this frame a lot. So we'll be going over her day one first build and some big synergies and basically what you can expect as an ORAXIA player. They didn't really exactly fix the new bounty yet, but yeah, hopefully once you get ORAXIA, these builds will come in handy for you for using her in various missions. Before we get into this stuff, though, make sure you sub to the channel. Daily Warframe video uploads, build videos, news videos, all that kind of stuff in that place Warframe content. If you have any requests on the next video you'd like me to cover on this channel, go ahead and put it in the comments down below. I'm thinking the Calervo augment next. This seems really, really good. Alright, but first things first, we got ORAXIA here, the new spider frame. As far as what her abilities do, we're going to go over all of them in the simulacrum, and then we're going to show you some builds you can rock if you want to use this spider frame, who is actually quite powerful. Now, I won't exactly say she's meta, because she's not, but she does actually have some really good synergies that remind me of Saren that make her quite good. So, let's hop into the sim and talk about what we have here. Okay, so here we are in the simulacrum, and as far as ORAXIA's abilities, we've got four abilities like most frames do. Now, let's go for her passive first. The passive of ORAXIA is while you are wall latched, you're invisible for 8 seconds. And you can refresh that when you wall latch. So as far as what her abilities do, she has an ability where she can basically wall latch forever, but you will still need to re-wall latch to keep the invisibility going, okay? First ability, Mercy's Kiss. Basically think of it like Garuda's first ability of Execute. It will also give you guaranteed orbs on kill, and it also makes you invincible while you jump on the enemy too. So if you have this ability not Helminth off, you get to actually see the execution range of these enemies. So I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of damage to get them low. Okay, you're going to see a green icon above her head once you get to below 50% health. Alright, Toxic Rock wore off. There we go. So right there, that icon above her head is the execution icon. Jump on her, she's dead. Orbs were dropped as well, and that orb amount scales with power strength. So very good ability. And like again, you go invincible while you're casting it too, so it's a little invincibility, like kind of like a shield gate button a little bit. Next ability, and Webbed Embrace. This is going to be her Helminth ability, and the Helminth version has less range. But for ORAXIA, you throw out your web grenade, and it basically it's a line of sight stun, and it's also a stun area. And in that area of the webs, enemies have a damage vulnerability, take more damage, and also take some toxin damage as well. And if they freshly walk into the circle, they will get frozen if they weren't in the circle in the first place. So it's basically like a little mini Strangle Dome, like stun area. As you can see, with a little bit of range, it covers a good amount of area. If those guys were to walk into this web area, they would get stuck as well. And they're damage vulnerable, so they're taking more damage from sources. Which would be really good when we combine her other abilities, like the third ability, which is to be the Spider Injection, is what I call it, Widow's Brood. You basically launch out these toxin darts, and enemies hit by these darts are going to create little mini spiders called Scuttlers when they are dead. The Scuttlers are not very good at their job at like killing things, but they can distract enemies, and also if you use Nourish on your build, they will spread viral procs pretty easily too. So let's go ahead and show that right now. Again, they are not the focus of any of my builds because the AI, if you're ever depending on weapon or summon AI in Warframe, you've already messed up. Now you can poison enemies and kill them with other sources of damage. It does not need to be an actual last hit with the toxin, whatever they call it, toxin spike. So you can inject them, get them low, execute them, and you get a spider out of it. I know the spider is not really doing a whole lot. Thankfully, I've got him modded up where he can do some stuff. But they deal toxin and impact at base. So with Archon Continuity mod, they'll proc corrosive too. So doing a little decent job, I'd say. You can have up to 10 spiders on the field at a time, and they are going to explode on death too, causing a decently large toxin explosion. So far, if you've been paying attention, we can debuff enemies, inject them with toxin eggs, and then we can also execute them to create the toxin spiders out of their bodies. So pretty good stuff, very Broodmother-esque. Let's go over the last ability now, the most important ability, her ulti. It's called Silken Stride. Basically become a spider. Become immune to status effects, so no prime sure-footed needed on this character. And increased health. Ranged weapons are imbued with toxin damage. Killing enemies cause them to burst an explosion of toxin. So the range of the explosion scales with strength. Sorry, the range of the explosion, well, it does scale strength and range. The explosion range does. And then the max HP scales with power strength, and a lot of stuff on your skills with power strength. You also get this toxin damage bonus that doubles while you're wall latched. The part they don't tell you about that as well is that when you activate this ability, hitting the roll button will actually make you basically become Spider-Man. So The Spider-Man distance scales with range. I've got about 175 meter distance with my Spider-Man right now. And yeah, while you're, like I said earlier, when you're wall latched, you're invisible. So right now we got 304% toxin damage bonus. While we're wall latched, you could actually ceiling latch too. Maybe not in this simulacra, but yeah, you could wall latch the ceiling as ORAXIA. So yeah, now that we've gone over her abilities, let's go ahead and talk about the build and what is actually good with her. So before we do that though, the good stuff about ORAXIA is that she can actually nuke hard with the Sobek. So you just kill one enemy, and they're all going to be dead. So that's going to be just like Saren. So I'm going to recommend you get the KUVA Sobek weapon with ORAXIA. Normal Sobek can work too, but KUVA Sobek is like basically her signature weapon as far as I'm concerned. She does have 2 signature weapons, but I'm not using those today's video because this is just an all-rounder build for ORAXIA. Okay, so first things first, the Archon Shards. She's very toxin-focused, so we've got these shards for ORAXIA. Tau Forged Emerald Archon Shard ×4. Increasing toxin status effect damage by 45% per shard. So this makes it where our Sobek is going to kill an entire room of enemies really easily. This will also affect our spiders to make them do more damage, so they can actually get something done for once. Additionally, pretty much this, oh yeah, even the second ability, Webbed Embrace, has some toxin damage too. So it's actually worth putting these on here, but you could technically put Power Strength on here instead if you prefer that. I've got 1 casting speed shard, because if you don't run a casting speed shard, her abilities feel really slow. Especially her first ability, Mercy's Kiss, feels really slow when you have no casting speed shards. Additionally, I forgot to mention this earlier, but when you're in her ulti, you can't actually melee. You only could use Mercy's Kiss for melee, so it's like a little bit of a mobility thing, so pretty cool. But yeah, you cannot melee, so you're going to either have to use your pistol or your primary. That's why she's can be kind of annoying as Acolytes sometimes. Now, as far as the first build, the No Helminth build, here's what I got for you. Now, as far as what we're using here, I'm going to explain every mod in Arcane. First, Summoner's Wrath. Squad receives increased companion and summon damage. That will work for the mini spiders, which makes them actually able to do something. If you don't have a bunch of buffs with the spiders, they are really, really underwhelming. Like, they're doing 2100 damage right now. You need to buff that up. That's not enough damage for the builds I'm used to, at least. Next, Power Drift. You don't need Prime Sure-Footed on her, so your options on Exilus mods are pretty much like 50% power strength or 15% range. The 15% range can be better in some situations, but honestly, the ulti does not have that much AoE anyway. It's like 8.75 meters. The most I've gotten is like 10 meters, and Acid Shells is 15 meters, so there's not really much reason to go too crazy on it. Although it's good for Webbed Embrace and for, yeah, it's basically a Webbed Embrace, the explosion of her ulti. So I'm going for more power strength here. Now we got the first mod, very important mod for Archon Continuity. Causing a corrosive proc with an ability, toxin proc causes a corrosive proc with ability. So the little mini spiders will actually cause corrosive now, and then when we go with a Nourish build, they'll be doing corrosive and viral. Now, as far as the range mods on it, we got Augur, Reach, and Stretch. You could definitely put on Overextend if you're okay with a little bit less toxin buff, but want some more range on whatever. You know, maybe some more range on your AoE explosion. The big difference, though, is going to be the amount of damage vulnerability from your 2, and the amount of AoE, or the amount of toxin buff from your 4. Also, it will technically buff your spider damage too. So I've got Augur Reach on here, a little bit of shield gating too, pretty nice. But yeah, the big thing here is that we're going to be actually using Blind Rage and Transient Fortitude to get our orb drop for our first ability insanely high. We have a 570% chance to drop health orbs, and we have Equilibrium. So we're getting we're getting like 100 plus energy whenever we kill an enemy with that ability. So very good in that front. Yeah, Blind Rage and Transient Fortitude get a ton of power strength. Now we got Precision Intensify in here to buff our ulti. You could technically put on Umbral Intensify and stuff if you want to buff all the abilities a little bit, but I wanted to buff the ulti a lot more because this also does let us use Arcane Bellicose because we're buffing our HP so much from our ulti. Prime Flow to make us have a big energy pool. We have to drain a good amount of energy when we're in our ulti, so that can be kind of annoying. But the other ability is 77 energy for Widow's Brood, 77 energy for Webbed Embrace, 30 energy for Mercy's Kiss. It's not that hard to maintain, but you need to be killing a lot of enemies to maintain these abilities. That's why Nourish could be pretty good. And for your last couple of mods out here, you've got, like I said, Equilibrium makes all health orbs become energy orbs and vice versa. This lets you basically maintain your energy very easily. As far as the arcanes on here, you might be like, where's Arcane Arachne? Where's Arcane Crepuscular? I'm going to be honest with you, it is way too annoying to wall latch, to remember to wall latch every so often. So if you are remembering to wall latch every time, there are some more arcanes you can run, like Arcane Arachne. It literally makes sense. On wall latch, increase secondary and primary damage. This does work on some abilities. I didn't check if it works on her abilities yet, but yes, it does work on like Steinex's ult, for example. This would be a great one. Also, Arcane Crepuscular is great. While Invisible, increased critical damage and final and increased power strength, but only a little bit of power strength. And also Arcane Kamasado, I think it's called. How do I spell that? Arcane Kamasado This will increase attacks from summon minions increase your power strength by 60%, 6 up to 60%, and also gives them increased movement speed. If you're ever relying on summon AI in this game, you already messed up. So I did try this out in mission quite a few times. Buffing the movement speed of those spiders doesn't even matter. So I wouldn't really recommend that one either. That being said, you can still use it if you want to. So let's go over that. Let's go over the Helminth build for Nourish here. So as far as what Nourish will do for you, it's the Helminth ability of Grendel. And you sacrifice Grendel, you get this ability called Nourish. So what Nourish will do is that it's going to make it where you have Viral built into your guns, as well as the toxin you get from her ulti. Additionally, Nourish will buff your mini spiders to do Viral and Corrosive with this setup. Also, if the spiders get shot at, they will do a AoE Viral proc, which can cause enemies to take more damage. So it's a lot of viral, it's a lot of extra damage. It also makes them do an increased viral damage on their weapon and your weapon too, so you're doing a big extra chunk of damage. I also forgot to mention it does increase your energy multiplier, so you'll be able to maintain your energy even better. So it makes these energy orbs give like 66 energy. It makes the health orbs for picking up give like 50 energy, I'm guessing. So yeah, and also as you can see in the background footage, we are AoE killing stuff really, really fast now. So let's go move into what you should use for the Nourish build. Now, for this Nourish build, I've actually gone for a little bit more range. I am using a very similar Arcane. You can also look at the top right corner. I've got Arcane Bellicose at 60%. Arcane Bellicose gives you more power strength the more HP you have, but here's the problem. You can only get the benefit of that big HP buff while you're in her ulti. So once you drop her ulti, you're not going to have that big Bellicose buff. So while you're in her ult, it's like 72% power strength when you're fully stacked up, but when you're not in her ult, it's pretty much doing nothing. So that will be buffing your non-ultimate abilities, which is why Precision Intensify is on here. Big chunk of Precision Intensify damage from for our ulti, but then we also have Augmented and Bellicose buffing all the other abilities for multiple 100%. So very good on that front too. So as you see the background footage, now that we've got Nourish, we're doing there's viral procs everywhere. There is, the Sobek is doing a lot of work here, but yeah, we're doing a ton of damage. So let's go and talk about what we got here on the next build. Okay, so here we're on the sim, and as far as the differences between the first build and this one, we've actually gone with Overextended instead of Augur Reach, and it's actually very similar besides. I've replaced her first ability. You could definitely replace her third ability if you don't like the AI of the spiders like I do, because the Mercy's Kiss abilities would be really good with Nourish. It would give you like your entire energy bar instantly. But you could actually technically cast the ability while you're in her ult, so it's not that necessary if you have an enemy that's low health. But yeah, that being said, Nourish is on here with a huge amount of range. We have a 100% damage buff for Viral. We've got a AoE Viral proc of 28.2 meters. That's going to work on your spiders too. So you're basically Viral procking the map with this build. Let's go ahead and hop in and show how this works with these enemies. I've got more stuff to show you too, as far as like companions and weapons and stuff like that. Okay, so we're going to kill these guys, resummon. Now with the KUVA Sobek, we're going to go ahead and just basically get one kill. It's going to be the exact same as before. You can also inject them and make spiders out of their corpses too. Alright, they're all dead and we have 10 spiders. There you go. It's as easy as that. Yep. That's what you gotta do with ORAXIA. So let's go ahead and talk about all the gear I'm using here so you can replicate that. Again, we already went over the Archon Shards. Let's talk about the KUVA Sobek here. So as far as the KUVA Sobek element, it doesn't actually matter which element you have. I've got a Toxin one right now, but we have the Elemental Vice. You can change the element at will if you have one of these things. So I've got Toxin here for Corrosive. We got Viral from Nourish, so we got Viral and Corrosive covered. And as far as the build, if you don't have a Riven, throw a Toxin mod on there, because Toxin mods do scale her 3 better. But if you do have a Toxin Riven like you should, for ORAXIA, stats like Punch Through, Toxin, Multi-Shot are great. Anti-Grenadier is also great. But as far as the build, yeah, Elementalist does work on her 4. I keep thinking we're talking about Saren here, but we're not. It works on her 4, unlike Saren's 3. And the star of the show here is Acid Shells. Enemies explode on death, doing a 15-meter percentage health corrosive explosion. That's gonna work with her 4th ability, cause enemies to chain these explosions all over the place. Additionally, we've got Primary Blight on Toxin proc, increased critical damage and multi-shot. You could definitely go for Merciless instead. It's probably mathematically better, but I like using Arcane Blight sometimes. That crit damage will go nice with our critical deceleration, which we have on here to make our companion get enough crit chance for Tenacious Bomb. The rest of the stuff doesn't really matter that much. Bane the Grenadier is great if you're fighting Grenadier, but yeah, this is just mainly our AoE gun. We fire out some of our Spider Needles, we fire this gun out, and we just get endless spider supply, and also enemies just die all over the place. So very, very good on that front. This also scales really nice with those Toxin Shards we talked about earlier. Now, I did say she's pretty bad for Acolytes, and I'm going to be honest with you, the Sobek is not the best for Acolytes either. So I'd recommend that you bring an anti-Acolyte secondary weapon. I'd recommend the Lex Prime as one of the best choices. Why is the Lex Prime so good? It has insanely high crit and also very high damage in the Incarnon form. So for as far as the perks, I got Hoplite Virtue, Extended Volley, and Critical Parallel. This would be your anti-Acolyte pistol right here. You could go for a Toxin Ribbon if you wanted to. You don't need to if you don't have a Ribbon. Just basically search for crit, and any mod that looks halfway decent, throw that on there. So like Merciless Gunfight would probably be great there. But yeah, this is going to be your anti-Acolyte weapon. You're going to use this when the Acolyte appears to kill them. Hopefully get a couple of headshots before that. Shouldn't be too hard to get headshots with your web grenade. And then just take out the Acolyte with this in like 1 or 2 shots. As far as your melee, you can't use melee walls in her ulti, but you know what does work in her ulti? Movement speed multipliers, or movement speed increases from Incarnon. So I'm going to recommend to you the Okina Incarnon for 30% movement speed, or you could use the Ruvox if you're willing to go through some headache to get a 55% movement speed multiplier once it's fully stacked. So gathering momentum, 5% per combo multiplier. If you got a 12x on this thing, you would be able to get a 55% movement speed multiplier on her ult, which is it's definitely nice, but I would be honest with you, just use the Okina. It's a good movement speed buff for like minimal effort, and you can it's quite noticeable too. Like you are definitely moving around faster while you are in your ulti with the Okina. So I'd recommend that one for sure. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over the last couple of items here. As far as the loadout, we got Vazarin on here. You can definitely go for Matarai, but the companion here is somewhat important. It's the Pharaoh Predicite, and as far as what his abilities do, this is also a 4x4 Pharaoh Predicite. If you don't know what 4x4 Pharaoh Predicite is, look at his crazy armor. He resists pretty much everything in the game. But yeah, the ability of the Pharaoh Predicite helps us a lot here. It's called Anabolic Pollination. Release a cloud of spores that persist for 10 seconds, increasing toxin damage by 100% for 15 seconds. Again, just like earlier, toxin buff, we got another 100% right here. So this makes our ulti even better for chaining that explosion across the map. Rest of the mods are pretty self-explanatory though. We've got Tenacious Bond to give it increased critical damage for our frame. We've got Reinforced Bond to give increased fire rate for our frame. And it's got some shield buffs to make it not dying as much, hopefully. Also Resource Retriever to give us double loot. And Contagious Bond to make the dog AoE sometimes. For the claws, they don't really matter that much, but I got Elusive Posture doesn't die that much. And the big thing here is just make sure you have enough crit chance for Tenacious Bond, which we do. And that's basically it for the Spider Frame, guys. She's pretty fun. I'm going to be messing with some more builds on her. For the first couple of days, preliminary testing, I'm liking the Nourish build. You cannot, unfortunately, here's the problem with her. You cannot use Roar on her. That is a little bit of a bummer. Roar would be perfect on her because of the whole, she has minions she summons. So, hope you guys have found this one enjoyable and helpful. I think ORAXIA is really fun. Is she meta? No, but she did get buffed today, actually. She was giving a 25% damage buff from her ulti yesterday, and now it's a 40% buff at base. Technically, it was a UI glitch. It was saying it was giving 75 yesterday when it was not. But yeah, it's actually technically buffed compared to yesterday, too. So, having some fun playing her. There are some anti-synergies that I didn't really just go over too much here. There's sometimes the acid shells get glitched out with her new weapons, but we're not using those today. Also, her signature secondary is really, really cool. So maybe expect a video on that one pretty soon. If you haven't seen the new secondary, I don't even know what it's called, but it's like, I just search ORAXIA whenever I'm looking for it. This thing is so cool. The Psyotid. Look at this. So expect a video on this very, very soon. So that's basically it, guys. I'll see you next time. Oh yeah. Expect a video on that one pretty soon. I'll see you guys next time for your support. Take it easy. Bye.